Hi class, today I'm going to talk to you about your classmate Angela. I heard that she had a seizure the other day, and I know how scary that can be to see that. I am here today to tell you about what happened and how you can help Angela in the future. Does anybody know what a seizure is? I know when I was in second grade, most children didn't know what a seizure was. I did because I used to experience febrile seizures until I was the age of 7. A febrile seizure usually starts when you're a baby, and they are caused by very high fevers. I grew out of mine and I haven't had one since. Before defining seizures, I need to tell you some background information about the brain. The brain has neurons that receive and send messages to parts of your body to tell it to do something, such as walking. Here I have a picture to show you about the examples of how neurons send messages. The neurons receive the messages here, and they send them directly to the body in whichever way they need to go. A healthy brain looks like this. It's strong and ready to take on the day. When the neurons in your brain are sending just the right amount of signals and receiving just the right amount of signals, it will look like this. There's a constant wavelength, and there's not too many coming all at once, so the neurons can handle this. This is what your brain looks like when you're having a seizure. There's so many signals being fired that the brain and the body can't take it. And after your seizure, this is what your brain looks like. It's exhausted and it's ready to go to sleep. Some people like Angela experience multiple seizures. When a person has multiple seizures, they are usually diagnosed with epilepsy, because most of the time, doctors can't find any reason to why the person is having these seizures. Angela's doctors did 3 different tests before diagnosing her with epilepsy. The first test was an EEG. This is when a doctor connects little dots to your head to track your brain messages that are being sent. This is what an EEG looks like. You see there are little wires that are being connected to the little girl's head, and then they're being monitored on this little tiny monitor. It isn't painful, so there's nothing to be scared about. The second test the doctors did was a CAT scan. And a CAT scan is when they take pictures of your brain, and then that allows the doctors to check for things that shouldn't be there that could cause the seizures, like bleeding in your brain. This is what a CAT scan looks like. You lay on a table, and your head goes in that little circle. It kind of looks like a donut. And it is not painful at all, but there are loud noises that can be a little scary. But don't worry, there's someone talking to you the whole time, and some people like to even sleep. The next test they did was a blood test. This is when a doctor puts a needle in your arm and collects blood to check out the level of a certain part of your blood. The certain part of your blood could be causing the seizures, so they just want to make sure that that's not the case. The doctors then told her that there was nothing that caused her seizures to occur, and since she's had seizures in the past, she is considered epileptic. They explained some people are just born with this disorder, and it may not show up until they are older. After all these tests and her diagnosis of epilepsy, the doctors told Angela she experiences generalized tonic-clonic seizures. When someone has these types of seizures, they fall to the ground and start shaking or jerking their arms and/or legs. They might also move side to side or up and down. Most of the time, their teeth are clenched like this, and their eyes roll back in their head. They may also pee or poop their pants, which is very embarrassing for someone to do in front of a bunch of people, so you have to make sure not to make fun of that person and be kind and realize what they're going through. Now I'm going to show you a picture of seizure symptoms. These are symptoms to look out for if you think someone is having a seizure. This person can have confused speech. They can be blankly staring for a period of time. They can be wandering. They can be chewing like they have a piece of gum in their mouth, but they don't. Or they can have muscle contractions and fall to the ground, like we talked about before. Now I'm going to show you a picture of what you should do if you're around someone who is having a seizure. Someone needs to time the seizure to make sure it doesn't go over 5 minutes, because if it does, it can be life-threatening, and they need to get medical attention right away. Another person needs to be there to speak calmly to the person that had the seizure when they wake up, because most likely they'll be very confused. Another person needs to make sure that no one is grabbing or holding the person down and just letting their body finish the seizure. The other person needs to go and tell an adult or someone older than them that they are having a seizure. Another person needs to make sure that no one comes around the person that's having the seizure besides the people that are helping. Another tip I'm going to give you is to make sure you put something soft under a person's head to prevent any head injury. The last tip I'm going to give you is to make sure you put the person on their side, because if they start to vomit, they could choke. Generalized tonic-clonic seizures only last for a few minutes. If they go longer, it is important to call 911 like we talked about, because it could be life-threatening or something else could be going wrong. Angela gets extremely tired and can sleep most of the day after a seizure, so she might be out of school if one occurs at home. If she is at school and one occurs, she might leave early. Other times, she is okay after the seizure ends and is ready to take on the rest of her day. I hope you know more about seizures and most of your questions were answered about what happened to Angela. I know that it can still be scary, but we have to remember that it is probably scarier for the person that is having the seizure, so we have to make sure to always be supportive. We also have to remember she is a kid like every one of you and can still do anything she wants. So we have to remember that it's not okay to bully. We need to be there for our friends, because that's the cool thing to do. Angela is now on medicine that will lessen the amount of seizures she has. Also, you can't catch epilepsy from someone, so you can still play with her and talk to her. Now we will do 2 activities to continue our learning about epilepsy.